Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mind of Sai Marie. Today, I'm unpacking something deeply personal, something that happened just a few days ago on March 28th, 2026, at the Metropolitan Detention Center, that is the MDC, on Alameda during the No Kings Los Angeles demonstration. You know, there are moments in your life that define you, not by what you say, but by what you are willing to endure for what you believe in. For me, that moment came in the form of zip ties, a cold paddy wagon, and one particular police officer's name. Today, I'm here to share the full unvarnished story of my arrest as a member of the press. I want to be clear. I consider what happened to be the single most honorable moment of my life. When I first arrived at the MDC, the energy was intense but focused. I went to set the record straight on the atmosphere. No one was attempting to tear down any fences. What I saw were signs and flags being woven into the wire, visual markers of a message. The crowd was chanting for them to leave the VA center. I was there with Dave the Viking, Resist the Coup, and Resist's wife, and also Lady Liberty. I was documenting. At that specific moment, I didn't even have all of my gear yet. Dave had gone back to get my gas mask and my press vest. I was completely unprotected when the line moved in. They deployed tear gas, and I took it directly to the face. Even without the gear, the mission didn't change. Keep the camera rolling, document the truth. As soon as I was hit in the face with tear gas, I knew I had to move. I made a beeline directly across the street at Alameda to find the concrete wall that blockaded off where the train runs through. I grabbed a hold of the wall and I went about a third of the way down towards Temple, and I felt myself double over and start retching, and someone ran up to me with a bottle of water and poured it in my face to rinse my face out. And they said, you got to keep going. I said, yes, I do. And I pushed myself forward and I kept moving. Finally, I made it to the end of the road at the corner of Temple and Alameda. And I was there when the police began setting up their containment wall there, when they started doing their line. And a woman from Minnesota came up to me because I screamed, "Is there a medic?" And she said, "I have a Camelback and lots of water." And she proceeded to give me the water and refill my water bottle. And I let Dave know that I was stationed there with the medic on the corner of Alameda and Temple because of taking tear gas directly to the face. I want to talk for a minute about the people that I stood with. I marched alongside Lady Liberty, Dave the Viking, and the rest of the crew as foot soldiers escorting Lady Liberty. Seeing the sheer number of teenagers that police took into custody was staggering. And then the crackdown happened. They claimed a dispersal order was given, but I'm telling you now that none of us heard it. If an order is given into a forest and no one is there to hear it, does it constitute a legal basis for arrest? To them, it did. I was detained and cited for failure to disperse. Well, that was what they were going to do, but let's back up a little bit. Despite the fact that I was there in a professional capacity to record history, I identified myself as press when they said press needs to move over here, and they would not let me leave. They kettled us and they kept us contained. I had the press vest on the entire time. In fact, when I was arrested, the officer asked me, "How do you remove your press vest?" The next 3.5 hours were a lesson in the duality of policing. I was held in booking, my hands cinched behind my back in zip ties. But I want to name one particular incident of cruelty that I encountered. This was with a person, Officer Villanueva. When it came time to board the paddy wagon, I was struggling because it was about a 3.5 to 4 foot step. I am only 5'1", and the police officer who had me get into the paddy wagon forced me to have to get into the paddy wagon crawling on my knees, despite the fact that I have bursitis. I have bruising all up and down my legs because of this experience. The other arrestees even said, "You're not even going to help her in," and she fired back rudely, "None of the rest of you needed help to get in." Again, I should not have even been arrested. I was press. That was absolutely uncalled for and completely callous and heartless. When it came time to board the paddy wagon, I was obviously struggling. When she was asked why she couldn't assist, her response was cold and dismissive. And I was forced to crawl into that wagon on my knees. It wasn't about safety. It was about the intention of trying to strip me of my dignity. And yet still I did it. But the atmosphere shifted once we got inside of the MDC facility, when Captain Ventura took over. The change was immediate. He stated clearly that he would ensure that everyone was on their best behavior, that his police officers would not mistreat anyone, that everyone for the duration of his watch would be held to a standard because he would not accept anything less, that everyone would be treated like a human being, that everyone was innocent until proven guilty, and that they were being ticketed for failure to disperse after the order was given, that they would be given their things back, they would be taken to the bathroom, and they would be given water. I can attest that that did occur. I did not see any mistreatment of any of the protesters who were detained once they were under Captain Ventura's watch. However, as I said, what I experienced going into the paddy wagon when I should not have been arrested to begin with was absolutely uncalled for and a complete violation of my rights in the most undignified manner possible for simply doing what my job entails. It shouldn't take a captain's presence for basic human decency to be observed, but that was the reality of the night. Eventually, I was released. No charges. Why? Because documenting the First Amendment exercises is not a crime. It is a protected essential right, and I am press. Then they can put you in ties, they can make you crawl, and they can try to silence the narrative with gas and citations. But they cannot take away the footage or the truth of what happened. And I was press inside that facility. And when I was released with no charges, that officer made direct eye contact with me, and I just smiled knowingly because I really was press. And what she did to me was absolutely wrong in every possible way. But because I got to go in that way, I got to see what actually occurred inside the facility where they actually bring immigration ICE detainees. I also seen the way that DHS behaves and how they are operating just like the IDF. I got to see them brutalize a person in the most terrible way you could possibly imagine, just 2 feet away from myself. But I want you guys to know that I feel an immense sense of pride. As press, I was arrested for doing my job. I stood my ground. As a member and a co-founder of Authors of the Resistance, I documented the exercise of our most fundamental rights, and I walked out with my head held high. And I have never been more certain of my path in life than I am now. I don't withdraw complaints. And I will make sure that the treatment that I received is documented. And Captain Ventura asked me before he went to go ensure that I spoke with LAPD media and they knew who I was so that they could release me with no charges. And he asked me, "Will you accurately report?" And I smiled and I told that man, "Yes, I will accurately report." And here I am doing so. And I want you guys to understand that this isn't just about that one day in Los Angeles. It's about the precedent we set when we refuse to be intimidated. It's about what it means to actually have the spine to go out and stand and face the most dangerous police department in the United States while the Gestapo was there. To be taken into the facilities where people are being brutalized and to witness what I did. These are the moments that define history, my friends. So I just want to let you know, if you want to continue to support me, I need you, because it is only by the support of people like you that independent press people can continue to do what we do. And if it were not like for situations like this, you would not be hearing or seeing all sides of these stories, because mainstream media is not going to tell you these things. So please, please subscribe, follow, and support my work. Go read my books, buy them, and know that I'm out here getting in the streets because genuinely, I am a documentarian. And if they take away our First Amendment, away goes every other thing we have. Do not allow them to do that. You are here with constitutional rights and due process. Do not allow them to take it away from you. And every time they do, stand proud and be bold and brave and knowing, because you are within your rights. Stay loud, stay vigilant, and remember, my friends, the mind is the most important story that we'll ever tell.